Hey, everybody. Number one, I want to thank all of you for joining us again for another continual development session. This is part two of session 10. We started it last week, and the subject matter was really, really good. So it rolled into the following week, which is wonderful. Today, Miss Amy Bonner is going to be here with us. Mr. Brian Garland is going to be with us to help us go ahead and solidify this topic and then wrap it up so that we all can then take it with us. But as we do every week, let's start the meeting off with a word of prayer. Mr. Brian McNutt, are you with us?
I'm here, buddy.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Okay, brother. Yes, can you start us off with a word of prayer, please?
I can. First, I got to thank you guys. Amy, we are listening to you, and we would continue to listen to you guys. You just kept talking for a while, so appreciate that, and thanks for all you do. So let's start with some prayer. Father, thank you so much for just another beautiful day. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for this group of like-minded people. Obviously, we're joined together from basketball and refereeing, but we know we are connected in a more deeper way, and that's through knowing you as our Lord and Savior. And we just trust in you through all these times. We know you are the truth, and so though in times of uncertainty, we know we can count on you, and that everything will work out for us. Just bless this time. The information that's shared, and just give us a great day. Pray us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate that. Okay. What we're going to do is, okay, hold on. All right. We are going to continue the topic we started last week, which was processing plays, which is a part of your self-talk. And it's really, really important that we understand the need and the necessity and what we need to do as officials to continue to work in this area to get better at what we do. We're going to start off by rolling into Amy Bonner's presentation. She's going to take it to the same topic, but take it to another area. And she's going to walk us through how this applies and how we can prepare for certain situations in our games. And then we'll follow it up with Brother Brian Garland, who will also bring the topic to bear with us and then wrap it up for us. Okay, Amy, are you ready?
I am, and I'm just going to throw this out. So I've taken a little bit different tact than maybe what we were doing on self-talk last week. You may even consider this more sequencing, but sequencing, play from one end to the other is really also a huge part of our self-talk. You have to be able to recognize it. And that's kind of the tact I took more than on one single individual play, where I stand or what I'm assessing. So I've kind of gone a little bit sequencing self-talk and not just isolated. So bear with me on that. And just to frame this game, this is a second round of the Summit Championship. So win or go home. And we start right off at the beginning of the game. It's literally the second possession of the game where we start. So
okay.
That first one, you're good to go.
Okay, sounds good. I'm going to spotlight my video, and we're going to roll right into the clips.
All right, so if you'll play that back, we're going to miss a pass and crash play, or I should say I'm going to miss a pass and crash play here. And can you slow it down? So, we do what we always do with the self-talk and the video breakdown. Lead could have easily got this call, yes, and Trail could have got this call, like maybe. But at center, and with no competitive matchup, I'll just say that I know that I could have helped and got this call and feel responsible for it. My self-talk in this moment right now is, I know that we've missed an offensive foul on Western, on purple. All right, so we haven't even scored yet. I've already called a transition foul right before this. So I've got a foul against white. We miss a foul against blue, and blue scores a 3. And this is how we start a win or go home game. So already right now, my thought is, all right, turn it on. We've got to, we cannot miss a foul on blue, and we can't have anything cheap on white. That's what's going through my mind right now. Okay, and you can play the next one. And honestly, that's what all of us should be thinking, right? We don't want to have something cheap on white, and we don't want to miss something on blue. Okay, so pause that. So as soon as we have an offensive foul here, I'm like, oh shit. And it is what it is. We have other angles of it, and you could debate whether we had to have this call or not. You could debate whether we could have put a foul on the player in blue before we get to that next defender. Yeah, so back that one up, if you would, Wayne, please. So right there, if I'm at lead with the same self-talk that I had going on at the other end, I might consider a foul there. There's illegal contact. She impedes her. She's not in legal guarding position. And had we not missed something at the other end, I probably don't put a whistle on this, but it's in my mind. Like, that's what I'm thinking about. Is that enough to put a foul on? And now as this play progresses to the offensive foul, is that, do I have to have this call? And this is officiating 404, because we talk about correct call, incorrect call, no call correct, no call incorrect. But we still have to manage these games. And so if we're not aware that we've missed a pass and crash at the other end, and we just come out and we just start putting plays on things, we're going to lose control of the game. And this is that that feel. It's the piece that is hard to teach. And there's a whole lot of discussion you can have about this. All right, so, and we can come back to that as we go. So now we've missed a pass crash at the other end. Team scores a 3. We have a foul against the team that, you know, we kind of hosed at the other end. And so now I'm thinking, one, I'm ready for the coach. I know that Misty is going to get up on the next play, and she did. This plays about 3 possessions later. I want to make sure the next foul I have on white is solid. God and country. I want everybody to see that foul. And I don't want to pass on something on blue. And as we talk about this, you know, people get squirrely. I'm not saying make up a call. I'm not saying you make up something just to put it on blue. But I'm saying if the basketball gods give you an opportunity for a foul, you better grab it. And here the basketball gods shine upon us, and they give us an opportunity to have an offensive foul. And what's that?
Hey, real quick, can you just talk a little bit about coverage during a passing crash for those on the call that may not know?
Yeah, sure. We can go back to that first play if you're able to, Wayne. Let me make it hard on you. Thank you. Yeah, and don't hesitate to jump in. I'll just keep going like I'm on sugar and caffeine, and I'm not today. So pause right here, or if we can pause that back.
Yeah, let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
And I constantly have to remind myself that I'm muted when I'm trying to talk to you at the same time.
All right, pause it here. Up. We can frame, maybe a frame back.
Okay.
So what are our coverages? Who has secondary defenders in the paint?
Lead.
Lead.
Yeah.
So technically, because this is a secondary defender, it's lead's primary call. And that's great, but I'm not gonna put this all on lead. I've got an open enough look at center. If I wait, knowing that there's not a defender out there on that 3-point shot, I can help with this play.
Right.
So it's my secondary. But on these plays, and I don't know who threw that in, I couldn't see, but definitely it's a secondary defender. It's a pass and crash in the paint. It would be leads. And even if that ball came out on lead's side, like say lead had rotated over, and that ball kicks out to the 3-point line in lead's primary, then lead still is responsible for the pass and crash in the paint, and trail would just pick up where the lead is not. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Are you good with that, B? Blanca?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
Hey, Amy.
Yeah.
Amy, go ahead. Is that you, Brian?
Yeah. I just had a quick question, and talking about self-talk, and obviously this is an elimination game. It's early in the game. You've had a great pregame, right? Talking about the different teams and what you're getting ready to get into, and how much thought kind of goes into, hey, this is early, intensities are high, not wanting to deliver too many fouls early, or fouls that may not be warranted, marginal, or anything like that. Does anything like that kind of go in your head when you think about just like this passing grass? Oh my goodness, this is their best player. Anything like that kind of goes through your mind?
Sure it does. Sure it does. And if you see the final of this same tournament, we push that. We let them play, so to speak. But there's also a piece of setting a tone as well. And marginal, we never really want marginal. And we can never pass on obvious, regardless of the game, the time, the situation. But yeah, there is some gray to work with in there. And, are you thinking this isn't much of a pass and crash? Is that, and beyond, hey, that's what this is for. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. No, I thought this was a run over, but again, I think sometimes when you look at the intensities, like the one we showed earlier that we had on the other end of the floor, where ORU's going in, they make the pass. That one seemed more of a was she there? Was it really a go through? Was it a to and through? But again, just wanted your opinion as an expert.
No, well, I don't know that I'm an expert by any stretch. I clearly just missed this play, so that disqualifies me from expert. But to your point, I think all three of us on the floor knew that we missed this play.
Right.
And so I think then our self-talk, whether it's your play or not, has to be an awareness for what's going on in the game. And here we are, the first play of the game. We're at kind of a balance point already, where this game, we can let it, if we're not able to manage this moment. So like you said, we miss an obvious pass and crash here, and we go to the other end. And for me personally, that's not an offensive foul, especially paired with what we just missed here. And this is the 404 part about officiating. We can debate whether that's offensive or not, but the fact that we can debate whether that one on the baseline at the other end is offensive or not means that we had gray to work within to help manage the game. And so for me, if I'm lead on that other one, I probably pass on it, knowing that we missed this one.
Right.
And these are hard conversations to have because, again, we're so into play call accuracy anymore, but I'll tell you, you still have to manage a game.
Correct. And if I could, Amy, Mr. Brian Garland has a comment to share with us.
Yeah.
Brian, are you there?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a comment. I got to ask you this question first, Amy, because I know exactly what you're processing. I think I do on this one, and I have to ask this question because it goes even deeper than that. Were you the crew chief on this game?
I was.
Okay, so I'm gonna go there with this. So how much as being the crew chief did you want to set a tone and establish to bring your crew along because of the multiple things that could be going on?
There's huge responsibility in that, right? Both these coaches know me really well. I've worked this tournament final 10 years in a row. So I do feel like these two coaches look to me to manage this moment. And I feel a responsibility to manage it. And that's all a part of my self-talk. And if you look at the last play when I call the offensive foul, that's really leads primary as well. It's a secondary defender. And I think, Brian, to your point, because I'm the crew chief and I feel that pressure to make sure that this game doesn't, because if we don't have an offensive foul there.
Absolutely. And the only reason why I asked that is because Blanca, whoever asked the question about who's the coverage piece of it, we all get that, and that's all fundamental. But in games like these, sometimes depending upon the experience of your crew, so on and so forth, as a crew chief, I just wanted to make the point, you got to set the tone sometimes, and it's coming out of primary to put whistles on plays to effectively manage the rest of the game.
Yes. And this is a point that we don't really talk about, and it's something that I've taken from the pro game. So that very first play where our lead doesn't cover their primary, so to speak, and I'm not throwing the lead under the bus. We've all missed plays, and we're all gonna miss plays. I missed my secondary coverage on it. So, but the importance of owning your primary, it's more than just about getting plays wrong or right. And throw out the crew chief piece that Brian brought up, and you're really aware to sense that. But when the lead doesn't call that first foul in his primary, it now puts me as his partner in a different space. Like now I'm going to jump onto things. And so when that next play happened, even if I wasn't the crew chief, even if this wasn't an elimination game, as a partner, I've lost a little bit of trust, right? Like, I don't know if he's going to come get this next one. So now I start speeding up my whistle, and I start putting whistles on plays that aren't necessarily mine. And that's a dynamic I didn't really understand until maybe the last 4 or 5 years in my career. So it's really important that you own your primary and that you have that delayed cadence on your secondary, because you do the same thing. If I come in and snatch this play from him before he even has a shot to put a whistle on it, it's going to mess with him. And either now he's going to really, really speed up, or I'm going to lose him. So we talk a lot about positioning and play call accuracy, but this piece about who does what and the impact that it has on our partners really is a deep subject, and it's hard to find ways and situations to talk about it. So I'm glad you brought that piece up, Brian.
Amy.
I just want to ask one more question just to close the loop, I think, on this is when you got to the media, did you discuss those 2 plays with the crew when y'all came together?
To be honest with you, I can't remember.
But let me take it another way. What would have been your discussion, even if you did or you didn't?
Yeah, I would just say, hey, you know, we all need to step it up a little bit here. Look, we missed an obvious block charge. We had one down there, you know, Misty, I think the coach for Oral Roberts, I think she's okay now, but we have to really up our game, crew. And we need to make sure that we sequence from end to end. And hey, if someone misses something, here's the invitation to come get it if you see it.
Hey, Amy, this is Garrett. Good
Yeah.
stuff. I hope everyone picked up on what Amy said there. As a crew chief, always put maybe I shouldn't say always, but put that onus on you. Put that onus on you. Even if you feel like you're 100% on your correct calls, no call corrects, whatever the case may be, but you know there might be some plays that are missed. You can always say when you get your crew together, look, you know what, I missed that play down there. I need to do a better job. I need to be in position. I need to be ready to ref, whatever the case is. But I'm a big believer of putting it back on you as the crew chief, as opposed to, Amy, come on, you got to do a better job. You got to get that play. Now your partner just goes in the tank. It could possibly go in the tank, and then now you're singling him or her out. So
Yeah.
always put the onus on yourself.
Yeah.
Amy, can I just piggyback on what you said a while ago, and it's 1,000% correct. And I went through the same process about figuring out the importance of the right whistle, the right place, the right time in the last 3 years, and it's really helped simplify. But if we go out there as a crew and our goal is to have the right whistle from the right place, making the correct call every single time, if we do that on every possession, it's basically foolproof. We'll come in the locker room after every game and give each other a high five and a hug, and hopefully, none of the three has brought any undue attention to ourselves. The crew has stayed in balance. And so, back to the actors in a play, when one official is having to do too much, it doesn't fit. Something seems off, and everybody reads that. The coaches read that. Each individual crew member is reading that, and so it kind of puts everything out of balance. So I just wanted to throw that in, because when we have games where everybody is owning their primary and they're getting their plays in their primary, and nobody's having to do too much, it's usually a pretty successful outcome.
I agree. And that's the importance of, that's your contribution to the crew, whether you're the crew chief or not, whether you're a first-year official or not, you have to own your primary. And if you're not going to take care of it, then somebody else is going to, and then that means they're going to miss something in their primary. Like, there's a reason there's 3 of us out there. They need 3 of us. This game needs 3 of us anymore. So I'm just.
That's why self-talk is so important, because if you have nothing going on in your primary, you've got to fight that inner voice in your belly to, I don't feel like I'm a part of this. I need to go get something. And then no sooner than you do that, you go and reach, and it becomes an IC. That's why self-talk is so important, because the second quarter, third quarter, second half, you may have all the plays in your lap.
Yep. And the self-talk, we've done a good job to talk about what that means at the 101 level. Here's my matchup. Who's going to hurt me? But for me at this point in my career, that should be kind of like breathing. I shouldn't have to think about who my matchup is. And so the challenge as you're coming up and as you're getting more experience is you have to consciously think about both of these things. And I do too still. I mean, I'm still having to figure out which matchup is the one that's going to hurt me the most or most likely to hurt me. But we have to do our individual, like FIBA calls them, IOTs, individual officiating techniques, and step down, step up, identify the matchup. We have to do those individual pieces and also be able to manage the sequencing and the self-talk from end to end. And we talk about sequencing a lot. Hey, if we have a block charge down here and we've got a close or similar play down there, we want to go block charge. But it's not always that clean. And you have to keep it active in your brain. Like these two plays were 3 minutes apart. But you have to constantly remind yourself that, hey, we still had this situation. Hey, Oral Roberts still thinks they're getting hosed right now, and we still have the opportunity to lose this moment of management. Like, really, if you put wires up to our brains and could project that, we'd all be in a nut house, right? Because we've got so much going on in there. On top of, we're thinking about what our partners are doing, what's the coach saying behind me? Like, there's a lot going on. And so you have to really be able to filter out what you don't need and find the pieces that are important. So anyway, I've rambled enough on that. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. That's good. What other comments do we have? Thoughts from anyone? Amy, I have a question for you. As a crew chief, and we understand that during a game, these realities will ebb and flow. Early in the game, we realize that, okay, we're catching up to this game. This game may be getting in front of us. So now this play specifically, we do have a double whistle. We go and it's the secondary defender on that drive to the basket, and we're owning it because of what's occurred previously. At what point in time do you or can you pull the crew closer together so then we can then relax a little bit and give our partners back their specific areas of the floor?
Yeah, so if I want to be really honest and self-evaluate, once I feel, and this is my personality, crew chief or otherwise, but it's probably magnified when I'm the crew chief, I'm going to have a hard time giving that back to you once you didn't take it. And that's not good. That's not good. I have to trust my partner enough to give him the opportunity, because if I continue to take plays from him like I did, I'm going to tell him I'm not trusting of him, and he's not going to feel comfortable in this game, and he may not be at his best when I need him or when the crew needs him. And as a crew chief, part of your job is to bring the best out of your team.
Right.
And that may be something as simple in the locker room. I've worked with partners that if they're not leading the pregame, they don't feel comfortable. So I don't care. Let them lead the pregame, because that's going to make them more comfortable. Then that means we're going to do better on the floor, because we all referee better when we're comfortable, right?
Correct. So
for me, I needed to let my lead take that play. But I was so afraid, I'm afraid because that means I didn't trust him. I'm afraid that he's not going to have an offensive foul, and I want an offensive foul, that I didn't let him take it. So that's not on him. That's on me, and that's a growth area that I have to look at as a crew chief.
Right.
And so I better be able to let him have the next 3 calls if for some reason we have doubles, or I'm going to lose him.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. What else we have, people? What other questions do we have? Observations?
That was pretty easy. Gosh, guys. I've got all this energy, and you guys are going to let me off the hook?
For real.
I kind of want to ask I mean, I don't want to beat the dead horse, but how do you like balance that line? Because what if you need an offensive foul in that play, and then he doesn't call an offensive foul and he calls a block? Then you're in even more trouble. So.
Yeah, I know that I'm going to have some splaining to do to the coach.
Okay.
So myself, if he comes out of there and that's a 50-50 play, and he comes out of there with a block, my self-talk is be ready for Misty to stand up. She is going to have a reaction, and I need to be ready to be a diffusing or a calming voice. I'm already preparing for that moment.
Okay.
And some nights you're going to have a bad night and you're going to come out and have that as a block, or your partner is, and you just got to work through it.
Yeah.
Because say he comes out with a block there and it's an incorrect call. If I go to him and say, hey, Jeff, you missed the first, you didn't put a whistle on the first one and you missed this one. I've lost him all night. That's not being a good leader. And knowing personalities, that helps. But sometimes we just miss calls
right
at the wrong time, and it stinks.
Thanks.
All right, and I said I wasn't going to go there, but I'm going to go there. Will you play that last play again?
Amy, I'm trying to set the stage for him, and no one bid on it.
I know. So I'm just going to throw it out there.
Okay, yeah. Let me go back. Let me go back, and we'll take a look at it.
I can't believe no one brought this up. Look, watch this play and tell me what you have. Really?
It's an
RA block. RA block.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Do you think that I knew that on the floor at the time?
No.
I would say no, because then you would, because it's now a rule play. Or did you know?
I'm going to say it was so close it didn't even matter.
Yeah. So here's where this discussion is really hard to have in a group of people like this. I'm going to be brutally honest and tell you I knew that her right foot was on the RA.
Yeah.
She wasn't to me, clearly in. She doesn't have, it's not a God and country obvious RA play. She's got a foot over. I know it. That's also part of the reason I took this call. I was willing to eat an incorrect call to manage the game within the gray. The first year Donnie Baden came into the WNBA, I remember him saying, sometimes an incorrect call is the correct call for the game. You're still going to get charged with an incorrect call, but it may be the right thing for the game. The trap in saying that, where we get in trouble is people go squirrely with this. I am not saying misplays to make it up. I'm saying that we can manage a game in the gray. And this is in the first quarter, the first 3 minutes of the ball game. And my feel in the moment was the best decision on this play in the game was an offensive foul. If this is a fourth quarter, I have an RA block. And there, I can say that 100%, I'd have an RA block if this is a fourth quarter. But we're in the first 3 minutes of the game. We've missed one. We've had a soft one. And now the basketball gods kind of gave me an opportunity, and I took it. I have the luxury of doing that as a 10-year veteran of this tournament.
There you go.
First-year official, you shouldn't be thinking along those lines, probably. And so this call has people from first year all the way up to NCAA tournament officials. So I'm going to tell you, I knew, and I made a conscious decision to go offensive foul.
That's good.
And at the same token, Amy, your crew has to know you don't need trail or lead coming in and helping you on this play. They have to know that what you're thinking is, this game is 3 minutes in, we're a little out of balance. I can take this hit. This is not a God and country play.
Yeah.
We don't need anybody with Superman coming in there changing this call.
Well, and the trail started to come, and thankfully, in this case, she wasn't really forceful, but she does step in towards lead, and I don't know what their conversation was. We didn't talk about it. Could you see right there at the end?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we're going the other way. So the only reason she's coming there is because she has to realize that she's in the RA. Right. So this is a referee 909, and you'll get pushback. You know, some supervisors will tell you that's a block. I don't care. It's a block. My fear in having this discussion is that people will walk away and go, oh, yep, there are makeup calls. And I don't want that to be the message. I want the message to be that in certain scenarios, well, the overall message is you have to sequence and understand and self-talk about what you're looking for in the game from one end of the court to the other. That's the message. The other piece is there are times in the gray that we can manage. And good referees know when that time is. And that's part of the art of officiating. There's a science to officiating, knowing that she's in the RA, and the art of knowing we've had 2 shitty calls about block charges, and this one's close enough that I can eat it. And that's just my personal opinion. And I know there'll be other supervisors that won't necessarily agree. And I'm a supervisor. If this is what was brought to me, I would go, I get it. Fourth quarter, different discussion.
Correct.
So anyway.
Great point, Amy.
Amy, what was flow of the crew from this point moving forward in the game?
What's what?
What was the flow of the crew after you made this call moving forward in the game?
Fine. The rest of the game, we had no issues. The coach for ORU and the bench behind me there, they were fine after this call. The coach at the other end, you know, he's 94 feet away. He can't, he doesn't have much of a look at this. And again, part of the luxury of having 10 years here, they trust me. And I may have, but honestly, I think coaches that understand that are fine with this. Again, fourth quarter, they're not fine with it, but right. The rest of the game was great, no problems. And the crew was fine, and we talked about it, and off we went.
Good, good. What other questions or observations we have from this scenario? Amy, this is good stuff. Great stuff. Great. And yes, it takes us to a level that everyone may not be prepared for right now, but at least it's introducing them to it. Not to saying that every official may be in position to even understand this mindset of this approach, but at least they've been introduced to it so they can start working towards that level. And there are those on call who should be processing in this manner. And maybe it will serve as a wake-up call and with gaining an understanding of where they are in the game and why. This is good stuff. What else do we have, people? Anything else?
Man, I hate to keep. I mean, this is a great play. So we have the piece about the partners not potentially understanding what just happened on the play to manage it. But if you do understand, here's another important piece, and this is great partnering. Get the ball, put it in play. Let's keep it moving.
Yes. Yes. I like that, Brian. I like that.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, Amy, great job. Great job. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and you know, I know it's It's not, this is the reality of
Mm-hmm.
basketball. It's not all just that easy. It's all not black and white. So just a different maybe situation people run into as you progress through your games and we start through next season. So
That's correct. I agree 100%. That's good. Good stuff. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Brian Garland, are you ready to roll into summing all this up for us?
Oh, we're done? That was it? That was it?
Hey, you know what? We're waiting. We're waiting for someone to throw something at us, and everyone's kind of sitting back.
Because it's a sequence, but the layers to it,
Yes.
from being a crew chief to being a partner to just understanding situations and understanding the context of the game. You could just take each one of those and just drill down into it, to its foundation, So just all really, really great stuff, Amy. Not being on the previous calls, one of the things that I talked with Wayne about, just understanding, referees, you're a decision maker, and being a decision maker, is about understanding what's going on in the game with situational awareness. And, we're talking about player fouls, team fouls, possession arrows, shot clock, game clock, previous plays that we've had, which we're talking about here of like kind, similar quality, and just being able to effectively manage the moments of the game, and not. And I think one of the questions someone asked was, how was Amy's crew after this, and how did the game go? Well, this right here at the 7:20 something mark in the first quarter of a 5, Amy did a great job with managing this moment, because if it goes the other way, the game's out of whack, probably at least until halftime. So, understanding all of that, and and I'm going to, even though the partner started coming in, because I think we've all been there, when we're coming up, I don't quite understand what my partner just called, but I know that wasn't quite right. But let me trust my partner. Let me turn my tail back around and get back to my position, because coaches are looking at partners coming in. Well, hey, she started to come in, or he started to come in. That was wrong. So, like I said, get the ball, put it in play. Let's keep moving. And, don't be afraid if you don't understand it to ask, hey, can I ask, just to help me to follow you as a leader within the crew. So I just, multiple layers and multiple parts to this play.
Correct. What else we got, people?
I'll jump in really quickly. This is Stephanie. Having worked with Amy, I know I might not have understood, if it were me in the game with Amy, the dynamics of all of it, but she has a great awareness to make sure that the 3 people on the floor, or her other 2 partners, feel comfortable to ask those questions. They may not have gotten an opportunity to ask them on the floor, but to have this dialogue in the locker room or on the ride home is so important, because sometimes all these questions are in our head and they just stay there, and we you feel offended if you might ask. But for folks like Amy, Brian as well, it's helpful when you can have just real, raw, honest dialogue, because it's needed. And we all know that some people would get offended if you don't. So I appreciate it.
An excellent point.
thanks, I appreciate that.
All right, who else? What else do we have? This is good. And Amy, here's the thing. When you, as an official, as we progress in our career, we have to get to the point where we have to elevate ourselves beyond our and Jason touched on this last week, beyond just our personal feeling about a certain situation. The game and our crew has to be our priority. And if we take that approach into everything that we do, then what Stephanie just says becomes a reality, because then your crew will understand. They will know that, okay, I may not agree with every decision, but I know that I can talk to Amy about this. I know that I can bring this to Brian's attention. He'll break it down for me. I know that I can mention this, and whether it's right or wrong, we can chop it up and talk about it. And here's the most important piece. If it is inaccurate, they know that you will tell them the truth. None of us are perfect. So we have the ability to connect one another and have real, and like Stephanie said, raw conversations about what happened. And then we're all better forward. It's not about out there dictating to anyone. This is not a situation where Amy stepped on the floor and said, you know what? Okay, we've screwed up those previous 2 plays. Now I'm going to dictate what we do. No. What Amy did was took responsibility for this play. She took ownership of this play, understanding all the parameters around it and the potential consequences. But as a crew chief and a crew chief with experience, she understands that I have to take responsibility for this play in this moment in time because this game needs it. And that's the level that all of us should aspire to reach.
Hey, Wayne, you had a question from Marty in chat, I believe, that Amy can maybe address.
Yeah, there's a couple questions. I got a question that asked if this play was sent into the supervisor. Mm-hmm. And the supervisor was aware of the first play that we missed. And she happened to, Patty, this is Patty's game. Patty happened to be at the game the next day. And she, her only comment was, hey, we can't miss the first play of the game like that. And, of course we agreed, but we didn't, and we did discuss this RA play, and I just owned it. And I just said, yeah, I thought her heel was on. I wanted to have an offensive here. I thought it was gray enough that I could just go offensive, and Misty bench calmed down. JD didn't say a thing, and then we went on. It was such a non-issue in the game that neither coach really said anything. So yeah, the play was discussed with the supervisor, and I just owned my decision. The other question from Marty that says if Trail does come in hard and says I have definitive information, then I got to take it. And then I have to take that information. I have to go RA, and then we have a really, I'm going to have to do a whole hell of a lot of self-talk the rest of the period because I'm going to be frustrated, but that's on me because the self-talk there has to be, hey, your partner's just doing their job.
Right.
That your partner can't read your mind, and your partner is doing what they think is right for the game. And so I can't be mad at my partner for that. And so for me, that if my partner did come in and correct this call, and I would have to take that information. I'm not going to tell her to go away. No, I don't want your information, even though in my gut I don't. But how do I explain that? Like, how do I tell JD at the other end when he sees my partner come in and go, her foot's on the line, and I don't take that information? And even if he can't tell then, he gets to the locker room after he loses this game.
Correct.
And he sees that my partner came in and gave information on a clear, at his mind, it'll be a clear play. I've lost 10 years of credibility with him. So if your partner comes in, I have to take it. And then we can have this discussion about whether that partner should or shouldn't have come in, or why I wish they wouldn't have come in. Or, now we can talk about the entire sequence, no call, 50-50 call, and now we change this call. Now we can have that discussion. But I can't be mad at my partner for doing what they are supposed to do, which is bring in that information if they have it.
Correct. Good question. Now, Amy, to follow up that question, if we do have that scenario happen where your partner does bring in information, and you're right, and now we have no choice because we see the same thing, so we have to take it. How do you make that internal shift, your internal dialogue shift within yourself, understanding that more than likely you're going to have a communication with Misty, with the coach? What do you say to yourself and you know your partner, you see your partner coming, you already know what they're going to bring to you.
Yep.
How do you make that walk everyone through your internal dialogue with yourself, preparing for being challenged from the coach you know is coming?
Yeah, so that's going to really depend on the coach, right? And their personality and our relationship. If it's a coach that I don't know, maybe it's an NCAA tournament and it's the first time I've had that coach, I'm going to turn and go, Coach, my partner had definitive information that her right foot was on the RA. And so by rule, I am changing this call. And it's going to be by textbook, by rule book. It's going to be short and sweet. And I'm not talking about any other aspect of the game.
Right.
Because Misty and I know each other and I know her personality, I know she's not going to go crazy. And so my self-talk is, all right, this is going to be a calm conversation, but she's frustrated and I get it. And so my self-talk is listen to her, let her have her minute to vent respectfully within our guidelines, and just tell her you understand. Like I can say, Misty, I understand we missed that first play, but she's on the RA here, and by rule, we have to change that. And I'm still going to use the rule to support me, but we might be able to have a little more personable conversation because we have a relationship and I know her personality. You know, if it's, I don't know, old Bill Finley from Iowa State, he's going to lose it. And so I'm going to give him the rule. I'm going to go, she's on the RA, and I'm going to get out of there.
Right.
Or stay, or, you know, whatever I need to do. But we're not going to have a long discussion about it. So that piece is just the self-talk on that. Just, you have to know that you're going to have a discussion. Just like after we missed the first one and then we had that offensive at the other end, as I'm coming up the floor, I'm really expecting Misty to be waiting for me. And that's okay. That's yeah. But if you don't expect that and you get down there and now all of a sudden, or you're not aware that we've missed a play and now we have one that can be deemed as 50-50, and even if it's not 50-50, even if it's just a good old run over and we have to put a whistle on it, she's still going to be frustrated.
Correct.
And so if you're not aware of that sequencing, that coach is going to jump up and you're going to be surprised, and then you're going to react. And a lot of times the way that referees react when they're surprised is with a big old technical foul.
There it is. Yes, ma'am.
But if you can understand the perspective from the coach and be prepared to have that conversation and understand that it's a fair conversation from her perspective, then we manage it and we go on.
Good. That's good. That's great. All right, people. Do we have any other questions for Amy? Any other observations? This is great stuff. Brian, do you have anything else to add to the group before we close for the day? No, sir. All good stuff. Yes, sir. You know what, people, this has been a great conversation, a great discussion that's taken place over 2 weeks. It's a discussion that has to be had on multiple levels. And I think it's important that we all continue to talk about it and to get better at what we do. Once again, every single one of you who have attended the call today, I really appreciate your attendance. I appreciate your participation. I appreciate the participation in the chat section. Thank you for being here. And as always, moving forward for the rest of the week, stay in touch with one another, look after your families, look after your loved ones, and let's continue to be the example to everyone else of what's possible in the society that we live in. Thank you all. Hey, we'll see you all next week, same time, 2 p.m. If you need to be added to the group me group so you be notified, either email Blanca or myself, and we'll get you added. Once again, thank you all for being here. Have a great week, a great weekend, and we will see y'all soon. Thank you.
See y'all.